Hey, I'm Dr. Patty Barch, and this is a message about mask hygiene. So before I get into my mask hygiene commentary, I wanted to give you a little bit of my background. So I have 2 undergraduate degrees in animal science, a master's degree in biology, and 2 doctorates in natural health. I also worked for 8 years for a global biotechnology company in a biocontainment facility and laboratory, where I was also a member of the safety committee. Additionally, I was a member of a 3-person team who wrote the curriculum standards for biotechnology education in Massachusetts for the Massachusetts Department of Education, and also created the biotechnology teacher certification test. So I have a pretty strong background in science, and one of the things that was part of my training is something called aseptic technique. You can think of aseptic technique as what you do when you don't put the peanut butter knife in the jelly jar, right? Because you know you're going to be contaminating the jelly with peanut butter. And so on a microscopic level, aseptic technique is how you keep everything clean in a laboratory. So what I've been noticing with especially cloth masks is this is what I've been noticing happening. So I've been noticing it in one-on-one meetings with people, and I've also noticed it when I'm out at businesses that the employees are wearing cloth masks for an extended period of time. So what happens is when you have the cloth mask, and understand that they're actually referred to on an official capacity as face coverings, because if they call them masks, they're considered personal protective equipment, and they have to fall under OSHA standards for breathability. And the person wearing a mask as personal protective equipment has to be deemed suitable or healthy enough to wear a mask in that environment. So they're calling them face coverings so that they can refer to them as clothing, and they don't have to abide by OSHA standards. So what I'm noticing with a lot of different types of cloth masks that I see people wearing is, as you're breathing into cloth, the cloth becomes saturated with the moisture from your mouth, from your breath. And so you know this because if you live in a cold area like I do, you can see your breath in the winter, and you can even see your breath freeze to the outside of your scarf or your buff in the winter as you're trying to keep your face covered. So what I'm seeing is, as people who have to wear these cloth face coverings for an extended period of time are wearing them, they become saturated with moisture, and that moisture is highly contaminated with whatever microbes are being exhaled. So mouth bacteria, any virus that a person could be carrying that could be transmitted through the respiratory pathway could be embedded and saturated into that cloth face covering. So, if you take any cloth face covering, you can put it under a microscope, and you won't have to go that high in magnification to see the pores, right? To see right through the threads. You can see right through them, probably not a very high magnification. But you can't see a virus with a regular microscope. You need an electron microscope to see a virus because it's that small. So it will fit through those threads in a cotton mask. But that's not what this is about. Remember, we're talking mask hygiene. So peanut butter in the jelly jar, right? So people are breathing their peanut butter. They're breathing their mouth microbial population. They're saturating that mask. And then as the mask becomes saturated, it gets heavier, right? Water has weight. And so as it gets heavier, it starts to slide down their face. And so they're grabbing it and they're pulling it up, and they're grabbing it and they're pulling it up. And every time they're grabbing it, they're sticking the peanut butter knife in the jelly jar. Okay. And then never mind if you have glasses, like I normally wear glasses, because then you're like also adjusting your glasses because your glasses are fogging up, or you're pulling your mask up and down. But anytime you touch your wet mask, it's peanut butter all over your fingers. And then if you're working in a restaurant, you're handing me a menu after touching the peanut butter. Or if you are scanning at a cash register and you're putting my purchases across a scanner, you're putting peanut butter all over them. And this microbial peanut butter has, some potentially detrimental effects. So all I can say is, we are required by law to be wearing masks in public spaces now. And I just want people to give some thought to their mask hygiene. I have been saying since the beginning that if you're going to wear a mask, wear a disposable mask and only wear it for a short period of time, like one shift at work. And maybe even that might be too long, depending on if you're, breathing heavy or sweating. If you're a waiter who's running tables out on a hot patio in the sun, you might need to replace your mask pretty often. But these cloth masks, I just continue to see people touching the mouth, where they're contaminated, and then they're just touching everything. They're touching doorknobs. So if droplets are the concern, right? If droplets are the issue, then cloth masks are a problem if people continue to touch them. So I know, all of my scientist friends who are trained in aseptic technique, we're losing our minds watching these people who have no training whatsoever in aseptic technique seriously spreading contamination. It is equivalent to putting your finger in your mouth and then touching the menu and handing it to me, putting your finger in your mouth and then touching my water glass and putting on the table, putting your finger in the mouth and then scanning my groceries or scanning my purchases. So let's be mindful about this. If the droplets are the issue, then thinking more about disposable masks or some kind. I think face shields, honestly, personally, I think face shields are a better choice because you almost never touch them, right? And if you do touch them, they're way off of your face, right? So it's much less chance of contamination. So anyway, I just want to bring to your attention, if you're a cloth mask wearer, that you really need to be conscious of contaminating the area around you by touching your mask and then touching other things. So if you're going to touch your mask, you got to be, what I would say is changing your gloves or disinfecting your gloves, but we're not in a lab anymore. So that's just a few thoughts on mask hygiene. And, I don't know where we're heading, but I feel like I should be selling hand baskets. But in any event, just please try not to spread your saliva all over the world. Thanks.